market, and it does happen. We used to joke about it, Wemmy and I, who had the golden stint. The golden stint, who had catching traffic just in straight lines the whole stint, and sometimes it just happens, and vice versa. You sometimes just every high-speed corner you catch a train of GT cars that have LMP2 cars just behind them, and there's nothing you can do about it. You don't, in those terms, you don't make your own luck in racing. It's just, you can't dictate where you catch the traffic.
It's a little bit like that bit of Hollywood shtick in the Ford versus Ferrari movie, The Perfect Lap.
That's right. The golden stint.
But despite the fact he says he's been struggling in traffic, the gap is not coming down anymore. First to fourth, Nick Nielsen.
Stay out, stay out.
The margins are tiny here, aren't they?
So this could potentially go against him. Watch this. Through the chicane here, he's got the GT he's going to clear, but not the LMP2. Oh, and look at that. The GT comes into the pit lane, which then will free up this train of cars in front of him. But that's what you're constantly looking at from inside the car. Where am I going to catch these others?
Nicholas Nielsen reporting to the team that the front's sliding around quite a bit. That's why they're telling him to stay out, because they want to try and stay on their strategy rather than come in with an unscheduled stop. So the gap is 12.6 seconds, Robert Kubica to Nicholas Nielsen. We start lap 340, and the last lap was better by Nicholas Nielsen than it was for the race-leading yellow Ferrari, and also Nicholas Nielsen has now cleared some traffic. We understand that Robert Kubica is coming in on this lap, and Nicholas Nielsen as well. So the battle is on the track. The battle is then going to be on in the pit lane as well. The drivers have to make sure they're absolutely perfect, partly in terms of the speed limit, partly where they park the car, where they stop for the pit stop, but also then the crew can't waste any time.
So the gaps between these top four pretty static over the last couple of laps. There's been a bit of ebb and flow, but as we heard from Robert Kubica, traffic has certainly been a big part of it. We saw the same with the 50 and the 51. I think it's been exactly the same for Lance Vanthoor.
If you look at their average lap times from this stint, Kubica's averaging 329.2, Nielsen 328.7, average lap time for Collado 328.6, theoretical best lap time from Kubica 327.1, theoretical best for Nielsen 26.8, and a 26.9 theoretical best lap time for Collado.
And Vanthoor?
Vanthoor's theoretical best 27.6 and averaged at 28.9, as opposed to Kubica's 29.2 average. And Vanthoor is on older tyres than Kubica.
Yeah, there is the Porsche in the background, so he's doing his best to stay in this fight. Pit stop's due at the end of the lap. Of course, the leader and the second place car will be separated by one pit box when they get there. There is the charging Porsche number 6, Laurens Vanthoor at the wheel of it, having taken over from Kevin Aston, who was such a star, bringing that up from the very back of the hyperpole grid. Graham, in the build-up to the race yesterday, you made the point that nobody had ever won from as far back as Porsche number 6. I'm not proposing that he's going to win the race, but it's not out of the hunt.
It's absolutely not out of the hunt. Just seems to be just dropping off a tiny little bit at the moment, whether or not that's just him looking after the package he's got underneath him. They'd take the fight to this traffic ahead, taking a bit of a breather.
Yesterday, the Porsches collectively really good at the start of the race, then maybe dropped off a little bit. Well, of course, yesterday they were doing all of that great work when the temperature was pretty much at its highest. Well, you know, the temperature is still climbing. We've gone past 1:10 nearly local time. So are we recreating that sweet spot maybe for the Porsche in this temperature?
Well, let's wait. There's definitely a lot of hashtag wait and see about this one, but for the moment, the gap that's been coming down is the gap for these three to Kubica, who's into pit lane now. Now it's going to be about the choices that are made on pit lane and the efficiency of the team on pit lane. It's another part, isn't it? The strategy's going on around us. Now we see how that actually plays out to what they physically do with the car. In two comes Nicholas Nielsen.
So you can't afford to drop anything. You can't afford to have an extra person just touch the car in error. You can't afford to have a wheel rolling out of control. This has got to be utter precision.
And we've seen plenty of teams get it wrong over the last, 21 hours. Can't afford to be any of these four. In comes Vanthoor as well.
hardest point in the race for everyone involved to be perfect. Driver, car crews, person on the fuel, even the person ripping off the tear off of the screen. It's everyone's been there, everyone's been sleep deprived in their lives, and you've got to be absolutely on top of it right now. It's so easy to trip up, make a mistake, things go wrong.
Goes through is the one of the four that did run pits and goes through to take the lead.
So no driving the change. Nicholas Wilson staying on board. Staying with the fuel only. So away goes 83 then. So number 83 back down the pit lane. Away then goes 83.
Yellow flag ahead, track. Yellow flag in sector 3.
Six then. So yeah, slightly in was the right to come in. Teams
That's not a bad signal. Yellow flag there. Be careful.
Inter-Europol competition, leading the VDS Panis Racing entry. Oliver Gray back behind the wheel, and then Dane Cameron third and leading the Pro-Am part.
So aboard on the number 5 Porsche. This is Julian Adler.
Seen a few cars do that in multiple categories, haven't we? Running too wide in Indianapolis, so easily done. It's probably the hardest part of the track, I'd say, that section in Indianapolis. On a consistent basis, it's just, you have to have the car just braking in multiple direction change as well.
So caught out the best that corner, hasn't it? So Robert Frines was last year, the year before, and into the wall, I think in the last year of LMP2 for WRT at that corner.
Had the heart of racing Aston upside down. We did first up last year. It's a big accident, and he wasn't the only one in strife.
Pipa Durrani too, hard into the
That's
wall
right.
there.
Yeah.
Right, there's getting it wrong, and then there's landing upside down.
Taking it to a new level, really, isn't it?
Starting it out.
Yeah. Right, James Collado due in this time. We're hearing that they might be taking oil. We'll wait and see, but James Collado owes us a pit stop. Further back, you've got the number 7 Toyota still trying to make progress, and James Collado, number 51 Ferrari, heading through Porsche curves. Let's listen.
So we box at the end of this lap. There will be fuel and oil refill. Fuel and oil refill. So please don't anticipate the restart. You follow the instruction from Oscar.
15 car, meanwhile, the BMW under investigation for pit stop infringement. In comes James Collado at pace.
So let's see how much longer this stop's going to take. You're going to see the oil bomb, as they call it, on the car, and then dump a whole load of oil back into it, because you use this, it's quite a normal procedure, especially when it comes to close to the end of the race here at Le Mans. That's going to cost him, well, I should imagine at least 10 extra seconds or so. So they're saying, don't preempt the start like usual, not a usual procedure, you wait for our call.
Meantime, as the 51 car comes to its pit stall, second place car at Marshall's Post 29, Porsche curves in for Robert Kubica. He's now closing the gap to retake the lead with 2 hours and 38 minutes to go. There is the oil bomb in the hands of the mechanic with the red helmet, the black cylindrical thing under pressure.
Black cylindrical thing.
It's a black cylindrical thing.
I'll go with it.
Yes.
And he's not allowed to do that until the refuelling is done. Fueling is the first part of the pit stop. There, in the meantime, is Robert Kubica, man on a mission. This will put him back into the race lead. We need to see what sort of time gap he has over not only Nicholas Nielsen, but where James Collado blends back in, and how much time he loses with this oil refill.
Whatever happens, what a story. This privately entered AF Corse Ferrari. Yes, of course, there's a pretty hard wire to the factory effort in a number of ways, but what could we be looking at here? The first privateer top-class entry for many, many moons. First Polish winner, first Chinese winner, and beyond that, another British winner. And who would have actually put that in their bingo card with Phil Hansen at the start of this race?
Having switched from a Porsche to a Ferrari for this year. Right, the oil is going into Ferrari number 51, and it's back on the move.
Yeah, it's probably slightly longer than 10 seconds, wasn't it, by the look of it, but let's keep an eye on the actual pit loss time.
Well, 3 seconds longer than what we thought was a delayed stop for the Porsche, so it's 139 against 136. Away goes the number 50 car, well on the road here. Remember, before these 4 cars all took their latest stops, the gap between all 4 was about 17 seconds It's now, and we'll wait for the 51 car to clear, it's going to be about 44. That, remember, there's the offset there with new tyres going on to Porsche.
So there's Kubica down Mulsanne, being chased there now by Nicholas Nielsen. 18 seconds it was when they crossed the stripe. And Robert Kubica still trying to build that gap. It's been a real seesaw morning now into early afternoon as the battle rages on between the semi-works and the works cars. But Robert Kubica for the moment is in charge. Nicholas Nielsen then in second place. His last lap was a little bit slower as perhaps he got stuck in the traffic. This is Kubica's limited view, looking through all the bugs, and he's coming down towards Mulsanne corner. Hard at work.
You should imagine now the gap's going to start to increase. If the gap doesn't increase at this point compared to Nielsen, then there should be a few concerned faces for the 83 car crew, because that second stint on this set of tyres for Kubica versus the tripled tyre that Nielsen is just about to embark on, you'll start seeing a drop off of performance on that tripled tyre. So let's keep an eye on that gap. 18 seconds at the moment.
I confirm car 51 is also triple. Car 50 and 51 are on triple stint.
So that's the scale, well, that's the challenge, that's the scale of the challenge. Matt Campbell closing in a little on James Collado on his much new rubber. Last time around it was what was that, an 8/10 advantage on the last lap. Robin Kubica to Nicholas Nielsen in favour of the yellow car.
Just slips through on the inside of the GT3 Ferrari. Would have been delayed ever so slightly, but still better than sitting behind it through that second left-hander. And then the exit of karting, it's going to get the Mercedes through this little right-left kink. That's full throttle, so no time lost there.
Antonio
Yeah, watching on.
Yeah, as calmly as he can be. Race order then, 83 Ferrari leads the way, which is Robert Kubica. Second, number 50 Ferrari, Nicholas Nielsen. Third, 51 Ferrari, James Collado. Fourth, Porsche number 6, Matt Campbell. And then fifth is number 12, Cadillac of Norman Nato. In sixth place, number 7 of Nick De Vries, the Toyota, the better of the two, almost by default. In seventh place, number 5, Porsche, Julian Andlauer. Eighth place is 20 BMW, Sheldon van der Linde, from 15 BMW of Kevin Magnussen. And then to round out the top 10 is number 4 Porsche, and it's Nick Tandy at the wheel of it. That is the top 10 right now with, what have we got left? 2 hours, 33 minutes and counting. Lead gap, 18.5 seconds. Kubica to Nielsen, and that time Kubica the quicker of the two.
Still, by the way, 7 cars on the lead lap for this motor race. Record set last year with 9. The record prior to that was 2. Remarkably close competition in this hypercar class, and it was a very different race, remember, last year with the hugely long safety car. All the more impressive that we've had so much green flag running, and still the cars in for Matt Campbell.
That kind of goes back to what you've been saying over the weekend, Graham, about this race choosing you. You know, they're working so hard, they're playing what they can with strategy, but then, out of nowhere, a moment with the back marker, which you just don't expect.
You're on the back end of the race leader on the final lap, and that happens, then the winner's gone.
Yeah.
Or you're leading, and you've got someone underneath your rear wing, and you choose right, they choose wrong, the winner's gone. And we're getting deeper and deeper into this. Jeopardy is everywhere.
Hearing that car 50 is being told to improve the speed, carry a bit more speed, minimum speed through karting corners, so it's the end of the Porsche curves. So they're clearly looking at the 51's car data, seeing there's a little bit of time to find there. And these are the little details now that you're looking at. There's trying to G your driver up, don't let them settle into a kind of slower race pace in a tyre management kind of phase almost, but just keep pushing, find the lap time where you need to. Let's hear from Kubica meanwhile.
It's the beginning of the race, but I have no control over the fast downshift.
So he's had bad downshift since the beginning of the race. So
it's not new, he's been able to drive around it, but this is the time when it's going to get worse potentially, isn't it? So is it becoming more of an issue, which is why now the conversation has started. Just want to monitor. There is 83 then out of the chicane. Robert Kubica with a downshift issue.
As he crosses the line to start his lap 346 onto pit lane, the second place car in LMP2. Ollie Gray continuing his epic run for the VDS Palace Racing from second.
Just going back to that Kubica message about the braking. Remember, this was even before nighttime fell that he was complaining of inconsistency with the brakes, and he had some pad knockoff as well, so he was having to pump the brakes. And the radio message at the time was saying, "Don't let James Clardo behind me think that I'm braking to let him by. I'm just pumping my brake pedal up." So they've had some kind of braking issue. I wonder if it's connected to this kind of dodgy downshift that he's been suffering with since the start, but I don't think it's completely cursing out. Nothing to worry about if it's hung on this long, but he's just probably just complaining, saying, "I'm still struggling with it." It's nothing new.
Three cars that are not this fight, but great examples of the variety of cars you get nowadays in the hypercar. The Peugeot 9X8, the Alpine A424, and the extraordinary Aston Martin Valkyrie LMH.
It's certainly been a race to forget for Peugeot. So once again, actually, I think they had a stronger car last year here, but
in terms of the overall order, yes, but they've got a car ahead of both of the Alpines. And in fact, I think that is the battle. That's 94 ahead of the 35. This is the battle for 12th position.
Dayton to forget for Peugeot and Alpine.
Well, yeah, I mean,
based on their performance from Spa, at least.
100%. I mean, they came into this race, you know, bigging them up really in terms of the pace that they got. They've shown it at times, but they've not been able to maintain it in the way they did in Belgium.
And the way that the Alpines were going early on, there's no way they ought to be behind one of the Peugeots. No. You know, that's a combination of problems, lots of penalties early in the race for speeding in the pit lane, and incidents like Jules Gounon, for example, going off into the gravel earlier on today. So Alpine have kind of shot themselves in the collective foot here to be behind Peugeot. But that said, this battle is not over, as Graham rightly points out. 12th and 13th, Morten Jacobsen ahead of Ferdinand Habsburg, and it was 0.6 of a second at that last timing point.
Yeah, now the flag's being flashed to the Peugeot.
As the Peugeot pits then, so that battle for the moment comes to an end. Morten Jacobsen down the pit road and heads towards the pit in line, slows right down and makes his way to his pit stand. Right, meanwhile, lap 346 being worked by the race leading car. Robert Kubica is 17 seconds ahead last time around, Nielsen fractionally faster. So again, we need to keep an eye to whether that's starting a pattern or whether it was purely down to traffic. Pit lane for the moment, moderately calm as the Peugeot team goes to work, and there's going to be a driver change as well in the 94 entry. Morten Jacobsen out, and Stoffel Van Dorn and the other drivers of said car. Divvied up between them for the remainder of
30 seconds.
LMP2 still the Inter-Europol competition entry of Tom Dillman ahead of Oliver Gray for VDS Palace Racing, and Dane Cameron third and leading Pro-Am in the AA by TF entry. And again, you look at the timing screen in GT3, it's still the Manthey Porsche, it's still Richard Leeks behind the wheel. They put him back in for yet another marathon stint. Second is Simon Mann's Ferrari, number 21, and third is 81, the TF Sport Corvette of Rui Andrade. So that's the top three out of the LM GT3 class. We lost one of the two Lexus, didn't we, not that long ago. Finguez, it's his car that was pretty good in the early hours of the morning.
Yeah, that was an unfortunate crash in Porsche curves, wasn't it? Just like we were saying before, the track becomes pretty treacherous now with the gravel that's at the side of the track and the marbles as well that consistently build up. So if you just get off racing line, it's coming into the corner now that I was talking about, that's where the Lexus, look at the marbles on the outside of the track, if you just get a little bit off line, you just be pulled out into the gravel, and that's exactly what happened to him. It's also really dirty around here, the high speed corners. It's like ice if you go on there now.
Toyota there, number 8 going through after its wheel issues.
Green light, go, go, go.
Way back now, 19th in Darkenberg's last and 7 laps behind, and it's going to start to see that P2 car number 3 is the Peugeot 18th overall there at the wheel of it, and on the Adam very splattered screen.
Yellow flag ahead, watch out in front.
Yes, at the beginning, we started the process 2 years ago.
seconds back. The team, but they stay in the car for another Herculean task.
Car on the left. Clear on the left.
Information on BMW, but let's get it from the horse's mouth.
Yellow flag in sector 3.
certainly can't hit somebody whilst doing it.
Hey, Rubin's racing. If you can race in the pit road, Rubin's racing. Come on! No, you're right. And I'm sorry, it was rather than over-ambitious, just judgment of the relative speed of the two cars. This late into racing, is anybody genuinely hitting you on purpose?
No.
And just gave me a very old-fashioned look before answering.
That's a whole other thing. On purpose. Who would hit another car on purpose?
Almost no, but you didn't see Racing One, did you?
I didn't watch Barcelona either.
No.
Mandatory stop start here.
It's tough.
Let's go. Go.
Hits and not out yet, the two BMWs, and they will end up. Are they going to end up as retired? Now, short of chance. So that's a fairly decent sign.
it's a real pleasure to be driving the Valkyrie here. And you know, our goal is to, you know, be coming back next year with it and challenging for them podium positions and stuff like that. So yeah, like I say, it's a real honour for me to be part of this program, and yeah, you know, really enjoying it.
Fingers crossed for the last hour for you guys.
Cheers.
Kubica still in number 83, and driver fitness, driver fatigue, but especially when you're considering somebody that has this standing that sustained the out of circuit racing. Well, rally championship, of course, for a time, but then came into circuit racing. And right now, he's leading, looking at number 50. This is the car now in the hands of Antonio Fuoco. Number 6 has got Kevin Astra behind the wheel. A drive-through penalty is going for number 9, which is 4th in LMP2 at the moment. And therefore, Matteo Cambietto looks as though his LMP2 aspirations have just disappeared.
Okay, so the situation is we are P3. We would need a bit more gap behind, like 4 seconds to be safe to secure the podium. Let's see the best we can do on the next 2 stints.
So we will expect car
Let's go,
51
go, go, go.
headed to the lead from 83 car to pit within the next couple of laps, and I thought it's still looking quite good for 83. I guess the pit timing's down the last so he's going to come in.
There's now 18 minutes away.
Yellow flag in sector 3. Yellow flag ahead, be careful. Clear on the right. Yellow flag in sector lead.
is in 6th place overall, the final car on the lead lap.
It has been a race that has continued to surprise, both in terms of reliability, in terms of the number of incidents, or relative lack of incidents, and through it all, Robert Kubica, who said he wasn't going to get the car to the end and didn't want to stay in it indefinitely, is still behind the wheel, and right now he's got the circuit to himself.
Absolutely right, and none of the Ferraris have been fault-free, but this has been more fault-free than the others. And this is the position they found themselves in. Could he become the first Polish winner of this great race? Distinctly possible at this stage. Would be a further Polish success to celebrate. Let's have a listen to Antonio Giovinazzi.
I have an issue.
I didn't have issue.
I have an issue, so maybe that's answering my question for me. That gap is
This race there is an issue, the method of which are the
Green light, go, go, go.
nature of which we don't know.
They're not discussing it over the radio yet, so they might be doing it by, I don't know, telegraph, Morse code.
This is potentially a podium slipping away from them, though.
It is.
Porsche. Now it's absolutely everything on the line, isn't it? 53 minutes. It's one more pit stop, possibly a little splash as well at the end. Can't be having an issue now. This is the team that won for the first time for Ferrari since 19